Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO 44 coming at you with another video. Okay, so Dejounte Murray is acting all kinds of up out here in the summer league, just disrespecting the heck out of everybody in front of him. Last time he bopped the ball off of his opponent's head 3 times before driving past him and scoring the basketball. Tonight, or today rather, he did a little fake move on Paolo Banchero, then drove past him. It's a fake move where he like pretends like he's passing the ball behind his back, pushes him aside, and then proceeds to drive past him. And then proceeds to further point at him and throw the ball at him all hard and run back down the court. From what I saw, it seemed to me, I couldn't figure it out, but it seemed like Paolo Banchero was the one who posted um, that Dejounte had unfollowed him after that and said, "I'll see you on the court." Apparently, it's personal. I don't know. They're both from Seattle, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. But what I will say is I can't wait to see the Orlando Magic and the Atlanta Hawks, and I haven't said that in probably about 18 years. The Orlando Magic and the Atlanta Hawks. Boy, it's been a long time, but that looks like that's going to be a rivalry heating up right before our very eyes, especially if those two are going to have problems. I'm looking at Dejounte Murray and I'm saying, and there's two ways of looking at how he's behaving right now. Maybe more than two, but I'm looking at two, and I'm going to point out two. One way is he's setting a tone for the Atlanta Hawks. This is not the old Hawks. They have high expectations for this season. Both of these players feel that they are, him and Trae Young, that is, feel that they are two of the best young point guards this game has. And they are both looking to set a precedent for what a super team means in this era, because super teams in the past have consisted of older guys coming together who've already accomplished a lot, guys who have been in their primes, who've already proven themselves to be superstars, and basically are now trying to come together to win a championship. This is a situation where two guys are coming together who have yet to prove themselves worthy of being champions, but want to come together to do it together in a place that hasn't had a championship in probably over 40, 50 years. I didn't like the trade that acquired Dejounte Murray, and I didn't understand the nature behind trading Dejounte Murray, so I blasted the trade. At this time, I have understanding that the San Antonio Spurs didn't expect Murray to re-sign with them, and they were selling high on him, which now, looking back on it, makes all the sense in the world. And if I were close to the Spurs organization and I knew what was going on, it probably would have been the direction I would have went as well. So that's what a little information and understanding can get you a more informed opinion. Now, as far as what the Hawks gave up to get him, I didn't like it. I didn't like it because it was too much, or so I thought. And then the market became what it was, and now we realize that it was about fair price for what everything went. Now, looking at how that went, it was just paying the price for everything else in this dang market. So now that we have a firmer understanding of what went down there, yeah, that's what Dejounte Murray's going to cost you. Okay, so that cleared up more understanding for me. Now the only thing left to look at is what brings me to the other scenario that I'm looking at in regards to why Dejounte Murray may be behaving the way that he is. Because these two players probably shouldn't be slapped together. This was not their idea. They are not forming a super team together. These are two guys who are trying to get paid maximum dollars going forward. Probably guys who are looking to lead their own teams going forward. Trae Young already has his team in place, the Atlanta Hawks. They bring Dejounte Murray in to assist him, but in my mind, Dejounte Murray should not think of himself as a lesser than Trae Young. He shouldn't see himself that way. Now, the rest of us, of course, Trae Young is a better player at this stage. We've seen more from Trae Young. Trae Young's been healthier as well. Dejounte Murray has had some setbacks, a broken leg, things of that nature, that have made it so that he hasn't had a full, fluid way of having shown his talent up until this point. And plus, he played for the Spurs, and as I always tell you, Spur fatigue. It's a real thing for a lot of us guys from this era. We watched the Spurs win so much to now it's almost like we're happy that they're aside, and we don't want to see them come back around for a long time. Now, me personally, I feel that way, but not as it pertains to wanting them not to come back. It's more so about them just not getting the attention they deserve. However, I think Dejounte Murray came in at a time where that was a real thing. Timmy had left, and all the Hall of Famers had left, and it was just more so about what the next generation was going to be, and he was the first guy in. Thing about it is, he doesn't shoot. He does all of the things that you want to see a point guard do, however, including playing defense, athleticism, and his jump shot is slowly but surely coming along. So I'm pretty sure he'll get one if it hasn't begun to show this upcoming season. But that's not his bread and butter. Trae Young is a player who's going to take a lot of shots. And Dejounte Murray playing a complementary role, I just don't think complements him in his goals for being a superstar in this league. Especially in a time where Scottie Pippen is unhappy with the Robin moniker that's attached to his name. Guys are trying to figure out who can play on what team. You got guys who have very different approaches in regards to that. Steph Curry's welcoming anyone to come to his team. He's secure in his superstardom. He can win with you or without you. You got guys like James Harden who are jumping at different situations trying to win. He doesn't care about all that. You got LeBron James who's welcoming players onto his situation. Then you got guys like Dame Lillard who's on the other end of the spectrum who won't join you. Or Bradley Beal who will not join you, etc. You know, such staunch opposite opinions. And then you have this situation right here where you got these young guys coming together against their own will, more or less. I don't know that they're happy about it. I don't think Dejounte Murray is very pleased. I think he wants to make it work because he's probably solid with Trae Young. I think Trae Young wants to make it work as well. And I think they both respect one another's game and all that. I think they even complement one another. The problem is they're both Chiefs. And if you don't consciously decide, let's do this, I want to do this, you're asking Chiefs to kind of take back seats for the sake of business of basketball, basically. Which is what this really comes down to, in my opinion, for the Atlanta Hawks. Can they win a championship with this duo? I don't think they can. But what they can do is garner more attention to the Hawks than they've had in a long time and give them the best backcourt, arguably, in the entire league. But that doesn't necessarily make it so that they're good enough to make that payroll make sense and make what giving up all those picks ultimately would do to their franchise going forward. But you figure, they were stuck in a rut. They couldn't get better. They didn't feel like they were getting anywhere. They had all this young talent. It wasn't developing. What more could you want? At some point in time, you got to cash out on all the young guys and get yourself something that you feel can really, really start the engine for you. And I feel they've done that. Problem is, they still have a lot of shuffling to do. And of course, just like everyone else in this league, they haven't been able to do it. So I don't know that the players believe they can win. And that might have something to do with what's going on there. You figure if they're going to make this sacrifice, which is what I said the day they made the trade, you got to know you're winning. You got to know it's going to make sense. John Collins is a nice player. Yes, they're running out there with him in the Pro-Am, or the Pro League, rather, Summer League out there, or whatever they call these different games that they're playing. They're running around with him. I think he's a nice piece. But the Hawks need to get better, man. They need to do something to make the sacrifice that these two young fellas are going to make over the next 4 years make sense. Because I'm telling you, with all due respect to the rest of those players, it just ain't enough yet to make those two feel good about the sacrifice they're going to be forced to make. And I think they see that on the horizon. Not only that, but I don't know that the personalities are going to mesh long term. Trae Young looks like a guy who knows he's a superstar, who believes himself to be a superstar, and who walks in the room as a superstar. All right? And Dejounte Murray, he seems like a different type of guy. He's from Seattle, humble beginnings, strong background, strong family ties. I just don't know if those worlds collide. I don't know. It ain't for me to know. As long as it works on the basketball floor, it's cool. But my thing is, winning cures all, and I'm not sure the Hawks have done enough to put themselves in a position to actually win. They are what you consider sexy on paper, But the meat and potatoes of what they have still has more work to do. And of course, just like everybody else, they're waiting for the market to open up. So, to be continued, everybody's going through a to be continued situation right now. I don't know that they were necessarily not done. I don't know. You know what I mean? But I see some retooling is necessary for them. It would have been great if they could have landed Ayton or something like that, even though Phoenix literally had no intention of letting him go after all. But something like that, a big splash. If they could bring someone in, or some more role players that kind of sharpen their toolbox to make them more of a contender. I personally think it's just very difficult to build around guards in general. I really do. I think it's hard to build an NBA champion around guards. But if your goal is not to build an NBA champion, then you can have a good time with guards. And see, that's the problem. I do believe that some teams are building for a good time. I do believe some teams would love to be a 6 seed, would love to be a 5 seed. So would love to have 48, 45 wins, have an all-star or a 2. That kind of thing is a step toward success. So you have to get there, and then in order to build even further. So I understand that, and I'm trying to work that into my equation as I see teams cap themselves off at what I think is just not good enough. Because if it's not good enough this year, it doesn't mean you can't retool it a little bit this following year and make it good enough. However, when you're talking about 2 max level guards, you have to really, really get lucky with your bigs and your forwards in terms of talent in order to make yourself a championship level team. So that's my thing. If you're not building for a champion and you're spending all this money, it doesn't make sense to me. I'm a Laker fan, so I'm always thinking championship or bust, even when I'm considering the needs of other franchises. And I don't know how not to. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. When I'm thinking about how to build your franchise up, I'm skipping past those steps that get you to decent. I don't know nothing about decent. You understand what I'm saying? I literally don't, as it pertains to what I'm shooting for. I don't know nothing about decent. I know about championships. And so, in my mind, even if I'm going to be at Sacramento, even if I'm the GM of the Pacers, I'm still thinking, there are going to be moves that are going to get me to being good enough. I don't care if I have to overload on 7-footers. I'm going to be better than everybody else. You understand what I'm saying? Or if I'm not going to be better than everybody else, I'm going to be constantly retooling to assure that I aim for that respect. Otherwise, I feel like I'm wasting my time. There's no way I'm going to be mediocre. There's no way I'm aiming for the 6 seed, 7 seed, 6 seed, 8 seed, 7 seed. No, that middle of the pack playoff crap does not work for BDF 44. And I do believe that's where the Hawks are right now. At best, in a very, very rough Eastern Conference, with a couple of key teams that are coming back with everything that they've had from the previous seasons, which is why I look at the Eastern Conference as a really steady and strong conference right now. Because you look up and you say, well, damn, just about everybody's coming back the same with the exception of the Brooklyn Nets or who? Some of these teams have retooled slightly, but look at Philly. Same core. Look at Cleveland. Same core. Toronto. Same core. They're bringing back everybody, basically. And these were teams that were really good to begin with. Boston. They bring back the same core, only they're adding an all-star in Brogdon. They're adding Gallinari. They didn't lose anything. You know what I mean? It's like, whoa, okay. Chicago. Bringing back the same core. The top 8, 7 guys, all the same. And so it's like, look, if you're going to do something like that, you're going to make moves, bring yourself a 1-year deal type of team or something that's not quite good enough or what have you, various things that these teams are doing, you got to understand that continuity is going to get you where you want to go. And in order to overcome in the East, you got to establish that early. The West, it's a little more open in the West because there's more teams that are looking to retool, rebuild, more younger teams right now, less contenders in my opinion. The East, no. Not at all. These teams all know themselves and they all know one another, and that is ultimately something that I think could make for a very competitive Eastern Conference that the Atlanta Hawks are not going to be at the top of. Simple as that. So Dejounte Murray, baby, looking at what's going on in front of him, seeing that he's kind of stuck in Atlanta, understanding that his contract, though very movable, probably will not be traded because of his age and because of how good he is. And he also understands that Trae Young is a player that's not going to be easy for him to play with. You are expected to complement Trae Young. You're supposed to play defense. You're supposed to play off ball. You're supposed to play, his minutes when he's hurt. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. That's your job, Dejounte. And in my humble opinion, that is not the role for a player of that magnitude. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Now, I could be looking at this wrong. I could very well be looking at this wrong. And this could be a situation where he slips right in, plays very well and all that. But I don't think that's the point. Because when I look at those contracts between his and Trae Young's, then I realize it still brings me back to the same point I'm always going to make here. It's not good enough. The team ain't going to have enough cap space to put enough talent around those guys to make them that championship caliber team, in my humble opinion. Just can't build that way. You know what I mean? I'll tell you the truth. If I'm going to give, and this is going to suck for a lot of guys because it's going to make it seem like I don't value guards properly. And I may not, to be completely honest with you. But if I'm going to pay anybody, they're going to be taller dudes, man. If I'm going to have my championship caliber core wrapped up in two players, I can't see them dudes being short guys. They can't be under 6'7". They can't. They have to be 6'7" or taller, and they have to be long. They have to be. Why? Because I need those two pieces to be pieces that no matter what's going on, do not have to be removed from the floor. It's that simple. And that way, all the complementary pieces around them can be those type of pieces, if necessary. Right? That's how I think. And that way, the most important types of interchangeable pieces are the ones that make the most money. And then I can find complementary pieces around them or players that duplicate them, since everything is switchable anyway, and make it make sense that way. You know what I mean? But if you're trying to build around two dudes that are 6'4" or under, something like that, and then you're looking for bigs and wings and all that, I'm telling you, it's harder to find quality that way. It's harder to find quality that way. Why? Because the rest of the league is building the way I just said. They're making sure that they wrap those players up in these contracts. Sure, you don't get them too easily. So that's what it is, man. That's why you definitely saw 4 forwards go at the top of the draft, because the mentality is, what I'm saying is not just what I'm saying. This is the way the field is looking at the game right now. It just doesn't make sense in a league where teams and defenses, offenses are targeting smaller players defensively, as we always say, and bigger players are being removed from the floor if you can happen to shoot over them, if they can't guard the perimeter. If these are two things that you must be able to adjust to now as you build, right? You get these big sluggards. That's why I hated the Rudy Gobert trade, because I think he's the quintessential guy that's now going to be a part of that, to where if the threes are falling, he needs to have a seat. That's already been proven in the playoffs. And situations like that are going forward just the same. Your smaller guys, even if they're really, really good defensively, they're still going to be targeted by these big dudes that are just going to back them down the paint and shoot over and draw fouls against them. It makes it frustrating. Even a guy like, for example, let me get my mind right. Look at a matchup like Fred VanVleet in Toronto. He's about 6'2", 6'3", something like that. Fantastic defensively, fantastic offensively. Here's the problem. The Detroit Pistons are going to be running a guy by the name of Cade Cunningham at the point guard position. And Cade Cunningham is about 6'10". That's the problem. That's the problem. So Fred VanVleet at $170 million is still going to have to find a way to be effective against a guy who got a whole foot on him. Just out of the sheer nature, that's what's going to be running on the floor. Nope. Can't have Fred at $170, $200 million. I cannot build that way. Because then when I have situations where I need Fred off the floor, or if he's too small to guard this, that, and the third, the players who are going to be tasked with guarding those players aren't going to be as talented because they're not making the money. So they're not represented in that way. So it's just like, yo, if you know what you're doing, then you understand why what Atlanta did probably should not have been done. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't like seeing them two players put together. It just means that in the presence of the cap that we're in, probably not going to win a championship that way. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, though. You're going to love watching them play. Heck, I can see a year where the Atlanta Hawks get all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals with that duo. But they're going to run into a Giannis, or they're going to run into somebody who's big, run into a Cade Cunningham, and it's going to be night-night. That's it. It's going to be night-night. Unless they can shoot like Steph and have players around him like Steph has had, which no one does. No one does. So that's one of those type of situations where I just don't see a whole lot of love for the guard going forward unless they're big dudes, real big dudes. And frankly, Trae Young in this scenario is going to be the problem. It's not going to be Dejounte. It's going to be Trae. Because Trae's the smaller guy who's going to be targeted defensively. And Dejounte's going to be the one who's going to be tasked with trying to handle business and making up for that. And that's going to get old quick when you're not winning. Trust you me, it's going to get old quick. Especially when the other guy is going to be considered the alpha. That's what's going to happen here. That's what I'm afraid is going to take place. And I'm pretty sure those two already see that coming. Dejounte probably, those guys, those are great basketball players. They know this dynamic before the games are played. Trae Young is going to be the odd man out defensive. Simple as that. And Trae Young is going to be taking a lot of shots naturally because that's his game. And while Dejounte can live without taking a lot of shots, he does need the ball. He does need the ball to create. He does need the ball to do the things that he does to get in rhythm. It's just not a good situation there. You want both of those guys to have their own front court. You definitely want Trae Young to have a Dejounte Murray, but you don't want Dejounte Murray to have to play with Trae Young, and that's the key to the situation. That's the key to the situation. This is for the benefit of Trae Young. Not at all for the benefit of Dejounte Murray. So if Dejounte's running around doing stuff, disrespecting people, lashing out, it's because I'm certain this is not an ideal basketball situation. I don't care what they like. I don't care what those two are showing you in terms of them being ready to play. I'm certain they are. But this ain't ideal, man. You don't sign up for this. You do not sign up for this if you're young point guards looking to be the best you can be. No. Absolutely not. So, Atlanta's going to be happy. If I were an Atlanta Hawks fan, I'd be excited about how fun we're going to be. But once you get down to the nitty-gritty, if you think you're going to beat Boston, you think you're going to beat Milwaukee, let me tell you something. Unless you guys make a significant trade to get better, that is not a possibility in my mind. Not even a possibility. And I ain't taking nothing away from those two players. Those two players are talented and can win. But they're going to need a lot of help if they got to do it together. So, that's pretty much how I see it, man. I hope Dejounte breathes a little bit. You know what I mean? I know he's on his contract. He's looking to get paid, all these different things. And that's also the thing. It's like, can he maximize his potential as a player next to Trae Young when it's time for him to be looking for a new contract? And see, that's another thing. It's like, can Trae assist him in helping him with his goal to get whatever it is he's trying to get done? You know what I mean? Can Trae help with that? Or is Trae going to be a deterrent to that? See what I'm saying? Because in this situation, it's like Trae's already going to get his money. Whatever the case may be, the Hawks are going to value Trae over Dejounte every time. So can Trae, as his teammate, give him some shine? You know what I mean? Because that's going to be necessary for the chemistry, in my opinion. And if it's forced and it ain't winning, that's when it's gonna get awkward. That's when guys are gonna start feeling frustrated. So hopefully none of that happens. Um, Coach has his work cut out for him. So I don't know. We'll see. That those Hawks, we'll enjoy them. Put it like that. We will enjoy watching them run. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.